Hey there, Empowered Tribe. It's Angela T. Moore. You're getting ready to experience the 4th episode of Empowered, a health and wellness podcast where I share my personal journey of health and healing, tips for mental and physical health, interviews with health and wellness experts and those bold enough and vulnerable enough to share their own journeys to empower you to succeed in yours. We know that life can be rewarding. It can also be challenging. It has its ups and downs, highs and lows. I learned that with a strong mind and a fit body, you are better able to grow through and grow from whatever life throws your way. My goal is to share journeys of health and wellness, as well as tips and information from extraordinary people all around the world to help you live an empowered life. On top of overseeing all operational aspects of applied fitness solutions, my guest, Kemper Sosa, is supremely passionate about people. He brings his love for its members, his deep appreciation for the team, and his unending passion for life to every interaction, and is truly dedicated to cultivating a positive and supportive environment. Kemper has served as general manager since 2020 and has been with Applied Fitness Solutions since 2014. In this episode, Kemper talks passionately about the gaps in the fitness industry and how he and his organization are not only on a mission to fill those gaps, but also bring the 80% of the population that does not belong to a fitness center into the doors. We also have a frank and honest discussion about the impact that disorganization and lack of regulation has had on the fitness industry, and how fitness professionals and health leaders can lead the charge towards necessary changes so that the fitness industry is given the same level of importance as the medical industry, as both are key components of a healthy population. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Big, hairy, audacious goal is a concept that was developed in the book, Built to Last, as a powerful way to stimulate progress. Kemper, you are an owner and general manager at Applied Fitness Solutions. What is Applied Fitness Solutions' big, hairy, audacious goal?
Yeah, that is quite the question. We'd probably be on for hours if I went into all the details and nuances for that. But I will sum it up by saying our big, hairy, audacious goal is to combine and blend our current industry, which is the fitness industry, with your centralized medical industry as well. Right now, they are two public health entities that aren't necessarily collaborating together, which when you do think about it is kind of mind-numbing because they both have the same goal. It's to help improve the population's health. But they're operating in their own silos when I think a lot of magic and a lot of impact on our nation's health could be had if they actually start working and connecting together. So without going into the details of the how maybe, but that's us in a nutshell. We would love to bridge that gap with healthcare.
Okay. Has it always been the goal, would you say, of Applied Fitness Solutions?
No, it has not.
No,
okay. I think for the longest time, our goal is very much in line with the rest of the fitness industry, which is to, I think in our heart of hearts, it's definitely, there's a goal to help improve population's health, people's health. But I do think we were kind of operating in the fitness bubble where the people that we were serving were the fitness people. They're the people that if we didn't exist, they would still find a way to exercise and live healthily and live well. So we've had a goal for a very long time just to help serve our community's health. It just so happens the majority of those people that we were serving kind of fell in that fit demographic that most of the industry is serving.
Now, there are fitness professionals all over the world that are striving to improve health outcomes for their clients, which you just alluded to. And they want to do that within and outside of their communities. But I don't know that there is or has been discussion about what can fitness professionals do to help aid population health.
Agreed. Yes, that is a discussion that I think hasn't grown legs in other complementary industries. So I think what the fitness professionals are doing now is they're doing a lot of good. Like they're connecting with people in a way that gets them inspired and motivated to start exercising, and which is a massive component of people's health. exercise has direct correlation with improving physical health outcomes. And actually more recently, and you could probably speak to this, there's a lot of research that connects the mental health benefits that exercise also produces. But I just think we're probably tapping into that literature and that information, as it seems to be mental health, vitality and performance is almost as directly correlated with exercise as physical health adaptations.
Now, it's interesting because I think that a lot of that is motivated, was motivated by the pandemic. I think as people were kind of navigating through the pandemic and kind of attempting to navigate out of the pandemic and kind of post-pandemic, I think a lot of things that were unseen, buried, kind of came to light. And I think that what we recognize is that people are very complex. And sometimes we tend to look at them in very simplistic ways. And I think in very limited ways, like we tend to define someone by one characteristic or one trait, as opposed to looking at who the person is as a whole, all the things that make you healthy and all the things that make you unwell. And I think the pandemic kind of revealed a lot of those things. What do you think about that?
I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. It is interesting if we were to look at the mental health state of the population during the pandemic. A lot of it is connected to this isolation and lack of access to social connection. That is one thing that I do think that our industry does a very good job of, is it does provide this space and access to building really solid relationships with the fitness professionals, but also the community of members that they serve as well. And when that gets stripped away, you do see a gap in just overall health mentally, particularly that people will experience. So I'm with you. I'm with you all day long. I do think that, on top of the physical health adaptations that we as an industry definitely help steward, the social health determinants of health are also really closely tied to that too.
Now, it's interesting because I know that we've talked in the past, and one of the things that we talked about was prior to the pandemic and definitely afterwards, there were gaps or areas that need to be improved, which you just kind of alluded to. As someone that is actively serving the needs of clients day in and day out, what do you feel are the current gaps in the fitness industry beyond some of the couple, areas that you stated?
Yeah, I think as a whole, our industry is very unregulated. If you were to think of your traditional, we'll use nurses, for example, because my wife's a nurse. During COVID, it was 2020. That is when she became a nurse, and she was studying for her NCLEX, which is it's the test that all the nurses, if you're a nurse, you got to take this governing test to pass to become a nurse. But whether you're a nurse in Michigan or California or wherever you practice nursing, to get that license, you have to take that specific test. With fitness, there are all kinds of NCLEXs that one could take, and some are more rigorous than others. But there's no standard on the one governing test that does qualify all fitness professionals. So if you're somebody that's looking for help from a personal trainer, you have two options that you could choose from. There's one personal trainer that did the weekend certification, that has a high school degree that they passed, and now they're labeled a certified personal trainer. And then you have another personal trainer that has a degree, that needed the degree to sit for the exam to even take it, and they passed that. There's two different levels of acumen and education that exist. Who are you going to pick, and who's the person that's probably going to deliver the better outcomes? It's probably going to be the person with, the more rigorous requirements. But on the flip side too, you have these people that aren't necessarily, and it's not the person's fault, it's the industry's fault, but they're getting set up to fail, and they're not necessarily qualified to work with people or certain populations. But then they get connected with these people, and they're probably doing more harm than good. So that's where I think like that is the massive gap with our industry is there's no standardization. There's no, governing body that holds the industry accountable to serving at a certain level. And this manifested with COVID. If you look at the essential businesses, healthcare was lumped into that. Makes total sense. Fitness, we were lumped in with the entertainment industry alongside casinos and strip clubs. What does that tell you about the way that we're viewed as an industry? It's pretty wild. And I would imagine, people that are fitness professionals that are listening to this would feel very similarly when they hear that, where it's like, hey, I got into this field not to entertain people. I did this to help people. But you're going to lump me into the entertainment group because, insert reason. But you look at the industry, we don't produce consistent outcomes. We're not trusted by the consumer. We're not trusted by the medical field because of all of this dysregulation and kind of wild west approach to getting certified.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. As you know, I'm an NAS and master trainer, and I have numerous certifications and specializations within that. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you, over the years, my frustration has been when I have been lumped into, as you say, the weekend trainer, the person that got their certification over a weekend. It's taken me many, many years, like you, to acquire the certifications, the education, experience that I have.
Yeah.
And I don't know that that many individuals, when they're seeking our assistance, are asking those questions, like asking, what is the organization in which that you're certified? What is your certified, agency? And what is your education and what is your experience? I think a lot of people, quite honestly, show up to a gym and they start working with a trainer with the assumption that the gym has done its proper, what am I trying to say? It's proper, diligence. Yes, yeah. On that particular trainer, and made sure that they have the education, the experience, the expertise to serve not just fit individuals, those individuals who have had injuries, those individuals that are post-stroke, post-cancer, numerous health issues that are coming into the gym looking to improve their health and overall health outcomes. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's hard to do that as whether you're a local studio or a big box gym. It is hard to do that due diligence because the industry is, it is disorganized. But it does carry a lot of weight when it comes to getting, serving the member. It's we are doing them a disservice if we don't have these standards in place. So, and that's not an overnight fix, but it's definitely, something that should be talked about more and should be in the dialogue in the fitness industry of how we start to achieve some of these standards. And it's not to, it's not to come down and be punitive to our current fitness professionals, because a lot of them have their hearts in the right place. But it should be more connected to serving the member as best as we can. And serving the members as best as we can, one of the scary stats that exist is 20% of our population actually engages with the health club. 80% does not. Why that? Which is an interesting question. Why not? Why don't the 80% connect with a health club or a gym? Most of that 80% has a primary care, or they have some type of tie to healthcare. So that says something too to the trust or lack of trust that exists with the fitness industry, that the majority of the population is choosing to disengage.
Well, what's interesting, something I have recognized is that true progress and success and growth over time really has a lot to do with the leadership that is in charge of hiring certain individuals, of making key decisions, of setting expectations and guidelines. And I think that it's the lack of leadership, quite honestly, in some of these organizations that has made, quite honestly, made fitness, made some of those gyms that we have in our communities be looked at in a negative light. because people have gone into a gym and they've gone into an unsanitary gym. They've gone into a gym where trainers are not being asked to maintain a certain level of service, or a certain level of education. And that's something that I think that is not only lacking in the fitness industry, but in many industries. The only thing is the fitness industry is should be a very important part of the community, and not something that is kind of, as you said, grouped into a strip club or an entertainment. It's a very significant part. For many people, it may be their only way of getting in physical activity. So it plays a very key role, which makes me think about a question that I wanted to ask you, because leadership, the act of leading people or an organization, is something that is key to success for individuals and organizations. It is practically impossible to be successful without good leadership. What does leadership need to look like in today's fitness work culture?
That's a great question. I always try to go off of the phrase, you manage things, you lead people. So you manage things, you lead people. But I think a lot of time, people in leadership or managerial roles lean too much on managing people. And I think the difference is there's a lot of deep and difficult and ongoing work when it comes to leadership. And it definitely takes a specific type of person to really fall in love with that type of work. Managing is more putting in place systems and procedures and guardrails to ensure the people that are in that system don't necessarily, mess it up, or they are operating within the guardrails to ensure that the outcome is X consistently all the time, every time. And you need both. You definitely need both. But if you're missing the leadership piece, which is basically pouring into these people to become the best version of themselves, you're going to miss a really important opportunity to bring a lot of emotion and passion into not just that specific person's life, but also into your business and your culture.
Most definitely. Now, a significant part of being a leader is being a good example, a good role model. How would you describe, because you are a leader for Applied Fitness Solutions, and you've been a very effective and productive leader for many years. How would you describe your own personal journey of health and healing?
I listen to the Empowered podcast every morning and I start with that.
I love it.
No, I don't think you can lead others until you can lead yourself. And that's another gap where there are people that are put in positions where they're not leading themselves effectively or managing themselves. Therefore, they're putting in a half-hearted version of themselves to other people, which is, you're never going to win that way. So I do think, leading the self is the first step, and that, definitely comes by identifying what is most important to you and where are you going and why does that matter to you and who are the people around you that are going to help you get there. And there's a tons of work that I personally like to dive into, and I've read tons of leadership material, but I think finding your specific core values is a great way to shine the directional light on how to operate with yourself, or how to operate yourself. So I think if you're taking care of yourself in all aspects of health, the physical, the health, the mental, the emotional, you're having difficult conversations with people that you love, your relationships are in check, you're taking care of that shoulder pain that's been nagging at you forever. Like, it starts with that. And then you bring that whole version of yourself into the other person's purview. That right there, now you're gonna optimize your chances of affecting this other human being to help get to their version of their whole self. So I know,
yeah, most definitely,
kind of an abstract answer, but leading the self, I would say start there.
Yeah, definitely. No, I love the way that you put that. Actually, I have found that most people want to make better health decisions. However, they feel that they don't know how. And I think that it's an overwhelming thought, quite honestly, when someone that makes the decision, I want to be healthier, and then they want to turn that thought into action. I think it's the action part that defeats a lot of people, quite honestly. And so I want to take this opportunity for someone that has worked with so many different people over the years. What are some mental and physical health tips that you would like to provide those that are going to be listening to the podcast?
Yeah, I think for the most part, people know, like you said, they know what they should be doing. Like they know they should be eating healthier, or they know they should be exercising, or they know that they should have that conversation with their boss because the way that their relationship is bad. So they know all these things, but it's being held accountable to the action, which very few people, including myself, have a hard time holding ourselves accountable to that action. So I think surrounding yourself with other people that can hold you accountable to that action, whether it is a coach, whether it is a mentor or like a close friend that you say, hey, I want to achieve these goals. Here's what I'm struggling with. Please hold me accountable to this action. I really think that will umbrella a lot of the change that most people want to achieve, and that will get the ball rolling to managing the self more on autopilot. And then I think when you're at that point, right, you're like you made some of these goals, you achieved some of these outcomes that you personally wanted to, then you can start to incorporate these things on your own without such heavy accountability from outside sources.
Now, would you say that that's something that your organization, Applied Fitness Solutions, does very well, is holding people accountable, I would say through the trainer as well as the community that is formed within Applied Fitness Solutions?
That's it. Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's when people come to see us, they get connected with a coach, and part of our program is it's a 3-month intensive accountability program to start. So you get connected with the coach, we identify the goals, we identify the obstacles, we put a plan in place to help you achieve those things, and it's 3 months long, because really, like, this shouldn't be an ongoing thing where you need this much accountability to achieve certain outcomes. With any new endeavor, I think you'll need accountability and some type of system in place to achieve it. But once you've achieved, those outcomes through the process, you should have some of these skills and habits that have formed. They're going to make the next thing you want to achieve a lot more self-sustainable. You can do it on your own more easily than you could maybe 3, 6, 12 months ago. So
yeah. What you make me think of is kind of what I have always tried to do with my clients, my physical health and mental health clients, and those kind of integrative health clients that come to me for both things, is I try to get them to understand what it is that I'm teaching them, the tools and things that I'm providing them, the resources that I'm providing, the education that I'm providing them, in a way that they're able to use it as they move forward. And I think that we really, truly have a responsibility to not only educate, but also to set people up for success beyond us.
Yes.
So that they're able to be successful, not just in what the goals that they've set with us, but the goals that they're going to set in other areas of their life. What are your thoughts about
100%.
that?
Like, listen, I think we will know that we've achieved our mission as an industry when our industry ceases to exist. Like, we're trying to go out of business, because that's what our industry is, we exist to help people achieve certain health outcomes, and our population would be much healthier if people did this on their own. So to your point, I mean, I'm being dramatic and I'm being hyperbolic, but
it's okay. I love it.
But yeah, like, the people we work with, and I think all fitness professionals work with people to get them to a point to where that person doesn't need them anymore. So hence the title of the show, they're empowered, and they have all the tools necessary to achieve certain health outcomes on their own. That's my belief as our profession.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because people ask me, why empowerment? Why I'm all about empowerment? Because it's one thing to motivate, but it's another thing to give people the power and or authority to take control in their lives.
Yeah.
And to be able to make a decision and to follow that decision with action that's going to move them and progress them along a way that allows them to achieve the success that I believe that everybody can have in their life, quite honestly.
Yeah, and I do think motivation is a word that does show up a lot in our industry. Like, I need to get motivated. I need to hire a trainer so they can motivate me. What is your take with that word? I am curious.
Yeah, well, it's a word that I like, but I think that it's a word that needs to be joined with other words.
Yes.
Yeah, education, motivation, guidance, tools, resources, all of that, because, you can get easily motivated. You can watch something on TV, see a very fit body, and you're motivated. That may last a few minutes. Once you stand up and you try to pick up some weights and your muscles start hurting, or you don't know what to do, or you just kind of stop at that right after that one workout, which most people do. Motivation is going to only take you so far.
Yes. Yeah. It's you're right. That's it. It's kind of like a little bit of an accelerant, but
yes,
but it'll fizzle out if you don't have some more substance behind it.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely. Now, one of the things that I actually say in my intro to the show is that life has its ups and downs, highs and lows. What have been your greatest challenges and your greatest accomplishments during your health journey? And I would say your journey with helping others.
Yeah, we've talked about this before. I truly consider myself very blessed because I haven't had a ton of lows compared to the people around me or the people that I know. Like, for example, I have a close friend and team member that they're going through cancer right now, and they're 30 and they just had a child, and their life is just completely different, and their pain is completely different than something I will ever feel. So I'm very fortunate not to have a ton of lows, but I will say, I'll tell you easily, my greatest accomplishment is my daughter, who's going to be one in a couple of weeks. Like, that hits all the buckets. But as a parent,
I do.
My low, I would have to say it was definitely COVID time. Like the pandemic through, and again, compared to most, I went through nothing. But relative to my experiences, there was definitely a low point from a business standpoint, a relationship standpoint. I'm sitting here thinking this business that I poured, almost a decade into could close, and it's kind of out of our control, and it's not fair. And, the whole why me and what am I going to do if it does shut down, that whole thing. So it was definitely scary. It was unnerving. I was definitely questioning what would be my next move, given, I was with my fiance at the time and we were trying to start a life, and this pandemic comes. But I also, I didn't go through that alone. I had people going through that with me, which made it much more tolerable. I had my wife going through it with me, my team here. We were all in it together, where I do know a lot of people went through the pandemic alone and very lonely. And given what we talked about, earlier, having that social connection just ripped away from you, that caused all kinds of mental health crises.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Loneliness is something that's definitely going to be, I would say, the center of a lot of conversations. I know that there's been a lot of focus with numerous organizations that have recognized that loneliness is something that is very problematic, and something that I think will become more apparent as we really start to understand how we have been affected by the pandemic. And I think as people, as I mentioned earlier, are attempting to kind of navigate from the pandemic and decide what they want the rest of their life to be beyond the pandemic. I think also, too, with a little bit of fear that we could have that happen again. I think a lot of people found connection through the pandemic there, but I think a lot of people realized how disconnected they were from other people and how disconnected they may continue to be. And that may be a very difficult place to find yourself, because as people are coming out and doing more things, and there you have these events that people are getting invited to, and perhaps you're the person that does not get the invitation. Perhaps you're a person who sits at home by yourself during the holidays and doesn't have anyone that's going to come over and be with you. That's a very tough place to be.
Mm-hmm. It's an interesting reframe about what you said, the realization of how disconnected people maybe were pre-pandemic, and the pandemic illuminated that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I am with you. I do think loneliness is a massive epidemic and becoming more and more prevalent. And it is very interesting that it's the people that are reporting their loneliness seem to be relatively younger people. You know, when you think of younger people, they have so much access to connection through social media and FaceTime and like Zoom. Like they have all these access points to connect with people that, you know, we didn't have 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
Yeah. Well, as we end today's show, what are some quick final things that you would like to say to those that are going to be listening to this podcast?
Yeah, I guess I'll say two things to two different audiences. You know, I'm sure you have health fitness professionals that definitely chime in. And I would say to them, you know, maybe digest what they've heard today and just reflect back on the industry needs. And I can also share with you this article that I think is really great. My business partner, Mike Stack, wrote it and it made its way into Club Industry, which is a national online fitness forum. But it's called 5 Ways of Professionalizing the Industry. And it touches on key points for us as fitness professionals to consider when it comes to developing ourselves and developing our teams. I think that would go a long way. And then to, you know, the person that's listening that is just looking to make their overall health change and become a healthier person. We didn't really talk about this, but I think one thing that people do get caught up on is the outcome of their goal. That North Star, that long-term goal, that whether it be I need to lose 50 pounds or I need to get off of my metformin, you know, those are great goals. But those are long. Those take a long time to achieve. And if we're focusing on that outcome every single day, we're not going to get immediate gratification to motivate us to continue on to the next day. So I would encourage those people, yes, don't lose sight of the outcome, but also focus on the process. The process to get there will reward you daily if you let it. And this could include,
most definitely.
Right? This could include little things like, you know, going outside for a 10-minute walk in the sunlight. This could include, you know, waking up 10 minutes earlier to do your journaling or whatever that is. The process, if you associate success with completing that process and you do that enough times, it's going to lead to that outcome that you want.
Most definitely. Well, thank you so much, Kemper, for taking time out of your morning to join me here on Empowered. I really appreciate it. I've always enjoyed my conversations with you. Thank you so much for joining me again for this very important conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure chatting.
All right. Thank you so much. Thanks for listening to Empowered with Angela T. Moore. Feel free to share this episode with someone you think would enjoy it. New episodes come out weekly. Follow our show on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you're listening right now.